Welcome to Insights into Northeast Michigan, a WBKB News public affairs program. Insights deals with the issues affecting those within the community, as well as Northeast Michigan and the state. And now, Insights into Northeast Michigan.
Welcome to Insights. I'm Sherry Stewart. With just a few days away from Christmas, you may be making a list and checking it twice. If that's you, the WBKB News team is here to help. On this segment, we have tips on everything from holiday shopping to the secret to making the best stuffed shells. Up first is WBKB's Stephanie Manici, who has holiday gift ideas that are fun and inexpensive.
Thanks, Sherry. I'm here at Rusty Petunia's Marketplace where they have some of the cutest gifts, and I think they're still having a sale. I'm not sure, but let's go in and check it out. I'm here with Laura Shear, owner of Rusty Petunia's Marketplace, and she's going to show us three of her, what she thinks is top sellers for the holidays. So, Laura, what do you have?
Okay, well, first we'll start with Vera Bradley. Vera Bradley, we have quite a few pieces. We do have a Harry Potter specific collection that will be showing up tomorrow, but this is one of the winter pieces that's part of the Merry Mischief collection of Vera Bradley. So we have plenty of these left. We have quite a few other Vera Bradley pieces also, and right now they're 25% off until Saturday. So definitely a great thing to get.
This is really stylish.
Isn't that so adorable?
You can put a lot in here. You know, we like to put a lot of things in our bag, right?
Almost too many, but
yes.
That's perfect.
That feels good too.
Yeah, and it's nice. It has a plaid, so it really does fit a lot of different personalities. And then we also have our craft cocktail set.
Ooh, who can resist this? The craft cocktail set. Now,
oh my gosh.
We need this.
Right? So there's a lot of people out there that are making craft cocktails now, and we have found the perfect gift set that you can give to just about anybody who loves the craft cocktails. This comes with several different pieces. We also sell a lot of these pieces separately, so if this is a little bit too high for your budget, we have many more styles and many more options to go with. We also have glasses, cups, and everything to go with it, even recipe towels, so it's so fun. And then we also have our most popular line. It is Mud Pie. This particular piece is our brownie set, and it actually says brownie points on the handle, which is adorable. And then life is what you bake it. I mean, this is a perfect gift for somebody who loves to bake, and especially if you want to give it full of brownies. That's even, so you get your brownie points.
This is
so that's
so
even
cute.
Better.
I love brownies, but I don't love to bake. But this makes me want to bake because it's so cute.
Isn't it adorable?
Adorable.
So those are some of our top pieces. We do have a lot of mud pie pieces still left in stock. It is getting very picked over, so I would definitely get here as soon as possible. Once again, we have a lot of things that are on sale. We're always doing multiple items on sale all the time. We have a little bit of Christmas decor left, but not a ton.
And I'm assuming that would be this table here, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, and we still have some ornaments, which is wonderful. So there's a lot to come in, a lot to see. And we definitely require masks. We are a strong believer in wearing a mask.
We're masked up.
Right? We're a very strong believer in wearing a mask. So unfortunately, if you cannot wear one, you can shop online or curbside. And so you can still shop with us, just not in our store.
Okay, and we can't forget about the pets this holiday season. So Kent, you're going to tell us where we can buy things for pets, right? Or what we can do for pets.
Thanks, Stephanie. Now we're going to head inside Great North Pet Supply to see how we should shop for our furry friends.
These are some of our best sellers. Kong makes probably some of the best pet toys out there. The solid rubber rings are really durable. I've had some for, gosh, since springtime at home, and my dogs haven't completely destroyed them. If you have an aggressive chewer, pretty much any of the rubber toys are probably the way to go. Even some of the plush toys will work good, but you just got to be careful with what your dog is capable of playing with safely. If you have an aggressive chewer, something like this is probably not the correct thing to buy. A, it won't last long, and B, it could be a little bit dangerous.
Well, I've got a few ideas now on what to get my cat for Christmas.
Well, we know that the holidays can be challenging for many people, especially during this time of an ongoing pandemic. Coming up, we'll take a look at how to deal with the holiday blues.
Insights will return after these messages.
Welcome back to Insights. In this segment, we are going to pivot for a moment and talk about the downside of the holiday. This one is certainly different as we try to maneuver the ongoing pandemic. And joining me to kick off that conversation is Aliza Berman. She is a licensed clinical social worker and the founder and clinical director of the Berman Center in Atlanta, Georgia. Thank you for spending time with us today.
Thank you.
You know, and we spend so much time on technology and Zoom meetings, and I think one of the best things that's come out of that is that we're getting an opportunity to speak with so many different people across the country, so that's a good thing.
There's great benefits to it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Aliza, we know that this holiday is certainly different, it's challenging. Let's start out talking a little bit about seasonal affective disorder, otherwise known as SAD. Can you tell us what are some of the signs, the symptoms, and how it's actually diagnosed?
Yeah, so seasonal affective disorder is very common among many Americans or many people around the whole world. It really does present itself like depression. But the difference between depression, which is major depressive disorder, and seasonal affective disorder, also known as SAD, is that it usually happens around certain times of year when the weather changes. But the symptoms are similar to depression. So you have the isolation, you have fatigue, you have loss of energy, loss of interest in activities, you have social isolation, sleeping more than usual. But if you look at patterns, you can notice if you're fortunate to treat a client that's going through this, you notice that the pattern is usually around a change of weather. Usually it doesn't happen like on a vacation or anything. It usually happens throughout the seasons. And so that's the difference. And this year the rates are high. So I see it probably, I would say 70% of my clients are going through it currently right now.
And is this true to just the weather? You said the season. So for example, we're in winter or almost the official start of winter here in our viewing area. We just had a major snowstorm, 12 inches. The skies are a little bit dark. They're a little bit more gray. Is that something that can, those conditions, would that perhaps be create an onset of SAD?
Sure, because the weather, there's a lot, I mean, I say that it's photosynthesis, but there's a lot that contributes to our moods and for anybody. So while the weather change is definitely part of it, we also have to look at daylight savings times, because people are used to when the sun is up and you wake up, usually that makes people feel excited because there's the sun shining in. But now when we wake up, for me personally, when I wake up, it's still dark outside. And then you drive your kids, if you have kids, to school and it's still dark outside. So our kids are even lazier than usual or a little down about the weather. But it's not just cold weather, it's also warm weather. So I have some clients too that around springtime every single year, they become more depressed. And their reason for becoming more depressed is they actually like to be home and indoors and bundled up in their sweats, so once they have to get out there and the sun is out, they prefer to stay in when it's cold. So it really doesn't discriminate, warm versus cold, but the weather change right now, especially now during this time, is really, it affects a lot of people.
That is very interesting. So we know that we can't unfortunately control the weather or the season. So in your expertise, what do you tell your clients? How can we maneuver those things that are out of our control?
So, right, you can't control anything these days, but there's coping skills. So I do a lot of things with my clients to help them cope with the change. So first I try to, if I know that it's coming, I definitely prepare my clients. These are the things that's going to happen to your moods, to your body. So what can we do to prepare? And a lot of times it's partnering with the people I work with to come up with a good plan. So it would be social interaction, which I know is hard these days, which we can talk about, but it would be that. It would be, there's things like a light out there that they have to help people with seasonal depression for the winter time. There's regular exercise. Please continue to do that no matter what. Just don't change what you're doing in the other months during this time. So once you make a change of what your normal routine is, it's gonna affect you in some way because it's a transition. So you really have to stay on task with your daily routines and what you do so that it can continue through these tough times.
These are definitely tough times with the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic, and you have also had a diagnosis of COVID-19. Share with us how you were able to come out of that. What did you do? How did you get your health back? Share with us how you maneuvered that.
So I must say there's so much around this COVID-19, a lot of the fear of the unknown. People are suffering from the trauma of what could happen. So it's pre-trauma because you don't know. When I was shocked when I was diagnosed, to be honest. I had an ear infection. That's what I was told. It's an ear infection. Here's amoxicillin. You're good. See you later. You have no symptoms. But I decided, because of what I do for a living and being around people, I decided that I'm going to go ahead and I get tested regularly. So I went that day and got tested, and it turned out to be positive. But you know, yes, I physically, it's hard, and you really do suffer physically. But for me, it was more emotional suffering and mental suffering. You experience a lot of shame, a lot of guilt, a lot of embarrassment, a lot of isolation. You don't get to see your family or quarantine. So while I was suffering physically, yeah, my emotional well-being was suffering a little bit more because I was experiencing a lot of that that was going on. So but thank God, I mean, I recovered, I was fine, you know, and I'm still, you still have the aftermath, you have the COVID exhaustion, but I just experienced a lot of shame and guilt, and I talked about it. So I actually publicly went on social media and told people I had COVID, because many people do not tell people because of the embarrassment and shame, just like the stigma of mental illness. So I just decided that I wasn't going to do that. I was going to tell everyone, no, I have it, and this is horrible, and this sucks, basically. But really, I was suffering from the shame and guilt of possibly exposing my family and friends during the days that I didn't realize I had COVID.
Well, we really appreciate you sharing your story. You talked about a side of it that we don't often hear about, the emotional aspect. You talked about the shame and perhaps the guilt of maybe exposing others to it. So we are glad to know that you are okay and doing okay. So in the time that we have remaining, Eliza, how can we get through the holidays? What are some of the tips that you have, as we know that it is a different one, it's a difficult one, but what are some of the tips that you would encourage people to consider if we have to be separated from family and friends as we get to the Christmas holiday, or just through the holiday season itself?
So just like in Thanksgiving, I mean, you have to remember what the holidays are here for and what the meaning is behind the holidays. This isn't going to be forever, hopefully. I mean, we hope that next year it might change shape and size. But the holidays is really about gratitude. It is about community and connection, yes. But just remember that the meaning behind the holidays we still can do. We just need to change the way that we express gratitude and love for one another, just for this year. So in my opinion, you can still do things. You can still virtually meet with everyone. You can still send a nice letter. I mean, to write a handwritten letter, which has kind of been out of fashion, basically, obsolete these days. I love getting those handwritten letters. I call it the wall of fame and the wall of thanks, to get a thank you letter of help of what someone means to you. Take that time during the holidays, change it a little bit. Forget the presents for a minute, the big extravagant presents, because really you like to enjoy presents with one another, and we can't do that today. So do something different, do something out of character, write a poem, sing a song over Zoom that you write and come up with a cute melody. I mean, do what you need to do to connect. The other thing is, if you really are suffering emotionally and mentally, I guess I kind of feel like what's worse for you? Is it the isolation? Because the mental health is really, really, really prevalent right now. Mental illness has just completely grown, and the numbers have increased of people who are suffering from depression and unfortunately sometimes suicidal thoughts. So if it means that the thing that can really help you is being with one another, connecting with one another, in my opinion, do it, but do it safe. Follow protocols, stay distant, get tested before you see somebody, wear your masks, because the oxytocin that you get, which is the hormone that's released with love and touch and everything, that to me is way more important than being isolated and feeling like you're all alone and you're suffering. So you have to weigh it out. But if you can survive it, keep it virtual, keep it distant, or just accommodate it by using proper protocol.
That is absolutely excellent advice, and we are out of time, but that's just a perfect place to end it. So, Eliza Berman, licensed clinical social worker, all the way from Atlanta, Georgia, via Zoom, sharing some fantastic information with us. Again, we're glad you're well. Happy holidays to you, and thank you for spending the time with us today.
You too.
Absolutely.
Insights will return after these messages.
Welcome back. In this segment, we take a look at some other holiday traditions. And joining me to kick off that conversation is our meteorologist, Ellie Morrison.
Around this time of year, Jews celebrate Hanukkah. This year, it took place from December 10th to 18th. The story of Hanukkah goes back to the 160s BC. That's when a group of Jews known as the Maccabees beat the Seleucid Empire, ruled by Antiochus IV. He came into what was then Judea, now part of central Israel, trying to banish Jewish practice, and also did some unholy things to the Jewish temple. When the Maccabees beat the Seleucid Empire and Antiochus IV, they returned to the temple to clean everything up and found enough oil that should have lasted only for 1 day, but ended up lasting for 8 days. That's why Hanukkah is an 8-day-long celebration. The main practice during Hanukkah is to light the Hanukkah menorah, also called a Chanukiah. On the first night, we start with lighting one candle. Always the central candle is used to light all of the others. So we start with the first candle on the first night, increase the number of candles each night. So on the second night, lighting 2 candles. On the third night, lighting 3 candles. And then by the time we get to the 8th night of Hanukkah, lighting all 8 candles, always using the central candle to light all the others. Because of the miracle of the oil, which lasted for 8 days when it should have only been enough to last 1 day, Jews commonly eat 2 snacks fried in oil, such as jelly-filled donuts and potato pancakes known as latkes. Back to you, Sherry.
Well, thank you, Ellie. Now, coming up next for all you crafties, we've got you covered. Here's Tiffany Maddox with a simple ornament that you can make at home.
Hey everybody, Tiffany Maddox here from WBKB News. Fun fact, I've got 4 kiddos at home, and typically during the holidays, we always want to do something that's fun and easy in the form of a craft. So today, we're going to make a quick and easy snowflake. So the things that you'll need, you will need a small little paintbrush here. So I have my paintbrush. I bought some popsicle sticks, and we have paint. I have white paint. I'm going to make my snowflakes white. And I also have some all-purpose glue. And then I decided to go ahead and buy a package of buttons. So they're different colors, different shades. So basically what I did was I painted each popsicle stick, and then we're actually going to go ahead and put these in a fashion that they look like a snowflake. So I will kind of glue these together. Now, my kids, they are ages 11 and 9, 5, and 3. So there's never a dull moment at home for sure, but they enjoy doing things like this. So I've glued all my glue sticks in the form of a snowflake. Now you kind of want to have this to dry. However, due to time constraints, I'm going to go ahead and put a couple of these on here. I'll put that here like so. And then this tacky glue, it actually dries in a clear form, so it won't leave residue showing on your snowflake. So you can just put them in a fashion that you like, and kind of like a pattern or what have you. You can also buy different paint to make them different colors, of course. So let's see. I'm going to put this last one here. So I'll do like so. And then you want to let that dry, but here's my finished product. This is what I did. Simple, super simple, and it only cost me about $10. So it's something that's cheap, something that's easy. You can even buy a magnet strip and put it on the back, and then they can go on your refrigerator or somewhere at work on the file cabinet. Super easy. So that is super simple, and I hope that you enjoyed it. And of course, after crafts, we always have to have a snack. So here's WBKB's Tyler Cruz with the secret to making stuffed shells.
All right, so we are going to take you through how to make the best baked stuffed shells. Now, my grandma used to make these every holiday. We're not going to get to see grandma this year, so I am going to bring her cooking to you. So you're going to start with your ingredients. You're going to need a lot of cheese. If you're using a whole box of pasta, which I don't have a whole box here, you're going to need 32 ounces of whole milk ricotta cheese. You're going to need 8 ounces of mozzarella and 8 ounces of Parmesan. I have 2 different kinds of Parmesan here. I will tell you why in just 1 second. So getting right to it, we are going to first make the cheese stuffing. I also have here paprika, parsley, minced garlic, pepper, and some salt. I like the Himalayan pink salts. They're very good. Some cooked marinara and some cooked shells. This marinara is homemade. You don't have to do that, but I will put that recipe up for you. You want to cook your shells to al dente, about 9 minutes once you boil the water, because you are going to bake them, so you do not want them to be too burnt or too overcooked. Okay, so we're going to start with the ricotta. I'm not using a full box of pasta, so I'm only going to do 16 ounces of ricotta here. Now you're just going to put that whole thing in there, and you are good to go. You are also going to mix it with the mozzarella that I have cut up here. You're only going to use about half of the mozzarella you're using in this part. The other half is going to be saved for later. So we're going to set that aside. Once I got the mozzarella in, I'm going to use this for the cheese stuffing because it's smaller. Usually I will grate my own Parmesan, but I don't have that with me today. So we're going to use this, just a couple handfuls of it. All right, so we got all of our cheeses in. Now we're going to add just a sprinkle of parsley just to give it the green color. Grate your salt a little bit. Give it a shake of pepper. A little bit of garlic, and if you're daring, which I am a little bit, I like the paprika just to give it some nice color and some nice taste, but not too much because it is cheese. And we are good there. And last but not least, you need 1 egg just to get that mixing all together and make it easier to stuff in the shell. So we'll crack that. Now once you have everything in the bowl, you're going to want to mix it all up till it's nice and kind of all formed into one mixture. So once that egg is all beaten and you have 1 clump of cheese stuffing, it is time to do probably the most tedious part of this recipe, and that's stuffing the shell. So I'm going to get my smaller spoon. I'm going to take these shells. Normally what I do first is I'd refrigerate this just to keep it colder and make it a little easier to stuff. Right now I don't have that luxury, so I am just going to go right for it. So you're going to get that in, use your spoon. You can overstuff them, you can understuff them. They don't have to be shut. Either way, it's going to taste awesome. It really depends on how many shells you want to make versus the stuffing with how much stuffing you put in there. So let's get that in, and that looks about good right there. I like to make them in a casserole dish because it's a lot easier to just kind of throw the cap on and throw it in the oven. And then mid-cooking, you're going to want to take the cap off so you don't have to deal with aluminum foil, but you can make them in a lasagna dish. Anything that's deep and can go in your oven, these can be made in. I like to put them in a single layer on the bottom. My grandma used to kind of stack them like a lasagna. Again, that is all up to you and your personal preference. Now that that's done, almost there. Almost can put these babies in the oven. You're going to need some marinara sauce. And now I will put this recipe on the website. You do not have to make homemade marinara. It's an awfully simple recipe. So up to this point, if you did make the marinara homemade, it should have taken you about 30, 25 minutes to get here to where you're putting the marinara on the shells. And you're just covering it like, it's almost like a pizza. And you'll see why I say that in my next step. You're going to cover all the shells with some marinara. You can have some dripping on the bottom. You can go extra on the marinara, light on the marinara. That's a personal preference. You can do meat sauce. You can do no meat sauce. Again, it's all up to you. But we're going to get those nice and covered there with the tomato sauce. This smells really good. And then we take our mozzarella, and this is almost my favorite part. You can have the kids help you with this. Kids, if you're doing this, this is the fun part. And this is almost like a pizza. And you're just going to put it all the way around here so that it gets nice and gooey when it cooks and melts. And this is why I have the other kind of shaved Parmesan. We're going to throw that on top of there as well. And then any other spots, just sprinkle that on. You can be generous. It's all going to melt into it. And that is what it should look like. Now that, ladies and gentlemen, is baked stuffed shells. You're going to cap this. You're going to throw it in your oven at about 375 for 30 minutes, and then you're going to check on it. take the cap off, leave it in there for about 15 minutes or until the sauce is bubbling around the sides, and then you should be good. Now, I made some of these the night before, and this is what it's gonna end up looking like. These are not hot, so the cheese isn't melted, but that's what it should look like. These are baked stuffed shells, and we'll be right back with more insights after this.
Well, that does it for this week's show. We hope that our holiday tips have been helpful for you. If you have a question, comment, or story idea, you can reach us at news@wbkb11.com. I'm Sherry Stewart. Thank you again for watching, and happy holidays.
Insights into Northeast Michigan is produced by WBKB News. This has been a production of Thunder Bay Broadcasting Corporation. All rights reserved.